Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I've been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019. And we are continuing to move forward through yet another offseason together. All right, we talked about three free agents who have ties to Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen, obviously with Kate Auden, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Tyler Higbee. Some guys who very clearly have extensive time spent under Cohen in the past. Whether or not that means, they're a fit for the Jaguars, who is to say moving forward. But at the end of the day, we are now moving forward and looking at three guys who have ties to defense coordinator Anthony Campanile. I mean, the Jaguars found, I'd say when you go back to last season, guys who had played for Campanile before who they went after, it really wasn't that many. It was like Emmanuel Ogbah, and off the top of my head, I think that was it. So he was playing with a lot of guys, so was really coaching for the first time. I'm interested to see, if they have another offseason to kind of grab guys who he knows fit his scheme, who he's worked with before. Because I'd imagine once Camp's a fan of you, and once you've made that kind of positive impression on him, he's going to be a fan of you wherever he goes. And he's somebody who I think was so gifted last year at putting his players in the best situations and adapting to the way that they had to fit their scheme around their skill sets. So with that all in mind, three guys who I think make sense for Camp. One, I think you got to start and stop with Rasul Douglas in Miami. Maybe not necessarily somebody who has experience directly through camp. He wasn't in Miami when Camp wasn't in Green Bay when he was, etc. But, I mean, he's played for a lot of the guys who Camp has worked with and who he's kind of been drawn to. He's played for the defensive backs coach in Miami. I really think when you look at the Jaguars cornerback position, right now, you look at who they have internally under contract. You have Jarian Jones, you have Travis Hunter, you have Jordan Lewis. I mean, obviously you have to add to that because Monteric Brown is a free agent. Greg Newsom's a free agent. That's two guys you get to potentially replace off the bat. Outside of them, Jordan Lewis is coming off a serious foot injury. Travis Hunter is going to be playing some offense, obviously. So I think the Jaguars, I'd say they need to add three corners at some point this offseason, whether it's through draft, free agency, however they go about it. I think you need to add at least 2 to 3 guys. And if one of those is the veteran guy who's been around the block, type who won't cost enough to break the cap, I think Rasul Douglas makes a lot of sense. He's played in similar schemes. He's played for similar coaching. I think that Douglas would give the Jaguars a level of experience in the cornerback room that I'm not going to say they're missing because Jordan Lewis will still be there. And obviously, Jarian Jones has now been through 2 seasons. But I think just adding another veteran to that room would do wonders, especially if you're looking to get young at it and draft a couple guys. So I think no matter, how they go about moving forward at addressing the cornerback position, it makes sense to me for them to find at least one veteran guy to bring into the fold. And yeah, Douglas hasn't played directly for Campanile, like I said, but he's been camp adjacent and adjacent enough to me that I think he deserves serious consideration. I mean, he's up their alley in terms of what they're looking for, the type of free agent that they're probably going to go after, an experienced guy who won't cost a lot. and at arguably the position that they need to add to the most. So I think he makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, some other guys. What about Kingsley Inagarbe? I'm probably screwing up his name. I really apologize. But, long time rotational pass rusher in Green Bay really kind of fits the mold for what Camp looks for in his defensive ends. Like, Camp obviously wants bigger defensive ends. I don't think he wants Ryan Nielsen level bigger defensive ends, but he wants his defensive ends to be strong against the run, to set tough edges, and to be versatile. You saw Trayvon, Smoot, Ogba, even Josh Hines-Allen all play some 4-eye last year and even do some, double gapping as defensive ends. So I think if you're projecting them to go after any 230-pound fastball types, I'm just not sure if those guys fit, because I think they want somebody who will be able to play the run. And Kingsley's been able to do that. I mean, he's a strong, physical player. He's explosive. He's not somebody who's going to be like a star pass rusher, but he has more juice, I think, than I'd say, Smoot and Emmanuel Ogba had last season. I think he'd give you, just a little bit more firepower in terms of the pass rush rotation. And, of course, he doesn't stop you from adding anybody. Not in the slightest. You can add him in free agency. I think Spotrick has his market value at around $5 million a year. You can add him on a 2-year deal as a rotational guy and then still add to the pass rush. Even drafting a guy, if you want to, as early as number 56. So he's not somebody who would stop them, from doing anything, somebody who would stop them from, finding more and more pieces to add to the pass rush. But he's somebody who's played, in a similar scheme, has the versatility, can play the run. I think ultimately, he's a guy who makes a lot of sense for a Jaguars team that has to replace some snaps at defensive end. And, obviously they have Josh Hines-Allen. They have Trayvon Walker. They have 2 young guys they can develop in Danny Strigout and BJ Green. But the Jaguars need to continue finding answers at that position. And it remains to be seen who those answers will be. But I think he could potentially be one of them. And then lastly, the one that fascinates me is Quay Walker. If you look in 10 different places, you'll see 10 different projections for Quay Walker in free agency. You'll see some places rank him as a top 15 free agent in the entire class. And you'll see other places have him as barely a top 5 linebacker in the free agency class. If projections are close to the reality for the latter group, I think that'd be good news for the Jaguars. Obviously, if he's not, set to get a massive contract or anything like that, it doesn't feel like they want to spend a high level of money at the linebacker position. If they did, I'd imagine they would just keep Devin Lloyd. But if you don't keep Devin Lloyd, then you have to ultimately think about a replacement. And they have other replacements, obviously. They have Ventrell Miller. They have draft picks. Maybe you want to look to Jack Kaiser. But if they want to find a replacement in free agency, why not Quay Walker? Unless his market's going to be strong enough that he gets outpriced for it. He's played under Camp. Camp was his position coach in Green Bay during the best year of Walker's career. He did a lot of the things that he did for Walker that he ended up doing for Devin Lloyd last year. Certainly made him a more effective player. So I think if Walker isn't going to get a top-level contract, I don't expect him to be in the neighborhood of Devin Lloyd. But if he's not even in the same zip code, if he's living in a different town entirely, I'd say why not? Why not consider, looking to him, because he's filled a similar role before for Campanile, and he has been a guy who has played at a high level under him before. If a team doesn't want to take a chance on him as a former, first-round pick, then I truly think one of his best fits out of any team might actually be with the Jacksonville Jaguars in another year with Camp.